Hey everybody, it is Mahadeva, OG Thunder Wizard. All right, so today I'm starting a new series here on the thunderwizard.com Patreon page. And I'm going to go ahead and make this one available to anybody. So if you come onto the thunderwizard.com Patreon page, you can have access to this first video in this, what I'm calling the Omnipotence series. So I'm going to give you an introduction into what we're going to be talking about. Today we're going to be talking about the components. So these are the separate things that make you up, because you're not just one thing. You are a combination of a bunch of different things. And we need to take a look at the components that make you up, that give you this ability to be this 3D manifestation machine. That is your highest destiny here on this planet. As you can tell by looking around, just looking around you, the vast majority of humans are far from reaching their highest potential, even though everybody is capable of this. Literally every single person is capable of it. And the truth is, you're doing it, whether you realize it or not. If your life is miserable and you don't have this and you don't have that, and these people are doing this to you, and the universe does that to you, that is you doing what I just said. You are manifesting everything in 3 dimensions. It's obviously not what we want to accomplish. We want to be able to manifest that which brings us the greatest fulfillment. And that is something that is absolutely possible, and it is in fact guaranteed if you know certain things. So in this particular video, we're going to talk about the components that make up this manifestation machine. And then in later videos, we're going to talk about the rules. So there are specific rules that this machine works on. Now, if you combine this with the matrix videos I've done before, you'll see how it all comes together. But anyway, to stay on topic here. And then we'll talk about the things that block the ability of the human manifestation machine from operating at its full capacity. But the bottom line theory of all this is, if you have all of the components linked up and working, and if you have worked on them and defragged them and optimized them, just like you would your computer. Defrag your computer, get a new upgrade, get the software patch, get the antivirus software going. When you have everything going, then you should have a fast computer that should do everything that you want, upload things, download things, all that stuff. Well, you can use that same idea on you, the human being. The human being is a 3-dimensional manifestation machine. We are the only beings on planet Earth that do this. Every single other being on the planet is incapable. Just look at the difference between you and a chimpanzee. The only difference on the physical level, including your brain, is literally 1%. 1% difference between you and a chimpanzee. But look at what humans can do. And we're not even talking about tapping into their spiritual potential. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about how to magically manifest anything you want. And this is the thunderwizard.com Manifestation Mastery course. All right, so now I'm going to bring out the Omnipotence list. This is the list. This isn't a completely exhaustive list, because you are other things. There's chakras, there's all kinds of other things. We're not going to get into that today. We're just going to get into the basic building blocks that make up a human being, and what is necessary to be able to literally manifest anything you want. So this is the Omnipotence interface components. You are a soul. This is your eternal self. This is the most important part of the manifestor. The manifestation machine is your soul. Second is your mind. So your mind acts like the projector. I don't know if you remember way back when, but when I was a kid, we had these film projectors that made a bunch of noise, and you projected the film onto a screen. Nowadays, probably people just watch, like, I don't know, probably just computer screens or TVs, or, you know, I don't know what they do in school now. But anyway, the second is the projector, which is your mind. The third is what I call the personality software, the lower self. This is really extremely important. This is your narrative. This is the story of your avatar. And not understanding this can make or break your ability to manifest in the three-dimensional world. Number 4, the upgrade sensor. So, you know, your computer goes through upgrades. I get messages on my phone, on my computer all the time. During the night, you're going to get an upgrade, etc., etc. This is what we call the higher self. And then the 5th component that we're going to talk about is the 3D interfaced software, which is the intellect. So the hardware would be the physical body, the physical brain, all that. The software that allows your soul to interface with three-dimensional reality is what we call the intellect. That's what most people call the mind, but they're wrong. The intellect is not the mind. The mind is your emotions and your ability to perceive things objectively. It's the part of you that allows you to meditate. All right, so these are the 5 components we're going to get into. And before we do that, let me just give you a little bit of background on why I started this series. I started this series, by the way, before I forget, there is the Dr. Manhattan special package, which will expire July 1st. So if you're thinking about that, take a look at that. drmanhattan.thunderwizard.com, doctor with no period. drmanhattan.thunderwizard.com, expires July 1st. All right, so what got me started on this was flipping around Netflix. I think it was Netflix, one of those things. And up came this movie called Absolutely Anything. I think that's what it's called, Absolutely Anything. Go ahead and watch it. It's about 5-6 years old, and it is about a guy who gets powers to, godlike powers to manifest anything he wanted. And all he has to do is he just has to wave his hand like that. And so there's a whole story behind it. I won't get into that, but of course, I like those kinds of fantasy things because I think that's kind of how things are for us. And as I started watching it, I stopped and I said, you know what? That really, we already have that. We don't have to wave our hand, but we actually do have the capacity to have these godlike powers to manifest absolutely anything that we truly want. That's already going on. And so I, went to watch the movie, and of course, it was just a movie, and it was cute and fun, and I had whatever other thoughts I had about it in terms of judging the movie. But the concept I really liked. And the interesting thing about this, there's another movie that I recommend that you watch, which is called The Sphere. S-P-H-E-R-E. The Sphere. That is another movie that you should watch because that is also, even though it's a movie, it's accurate. We do have that ability. Now, the conclusion of both of these movies, what's important about this, which represents where we're at, one of the things that limits us. The conclusion of both of those movies is that human beings are not ready to have this godlike, omnipotent power. So in the case of this movie, Absolutely Anything, he gives the power to his dog. And so his dog, in his wisdom, decides that he's going to take away whatever it was that brought this power into existence. And in the movie, it's some evil aliens that are putting humans through a test, And if a human being can be given omnipotent powers, will they do good for the world? And if not, will destroy human beings. So as they've decided they're going to destroy human beings because this idiot has this power and he's not, he's screwing up all over the place. As they're in the process of destroying human beings, the dog waves his paw because now he has the power, and he says, let whatever it is that brought this power into existence be destroyed right now. And so as they're attempting to destroy Earth, they turn around and end up destroying themselves, and the irony and the et cetera, and all that. But from me, being who I am, I watch that and I go, oh, I don't like that, because that is what blocks us. This idea, which is an old idea that comes from Christianity, which says that only God is allowed to have the power of creation, that human beings are evil, and if you give human beings infinite power, they will destroy themselves. Well, guess what's already happening? Humans are already destroying themselves. Humans have this power. They created nuclear weapons. They've created the ability to fly to other planets. We have the capability, absolutely have the capability to feed every single human being on the planet multiple times over. We absolutely have the ability to house and clothe every single person on the planet. We have the ability to stop using fossil fuels. We have the ability to use solar power and wind power and all kinds of other things to completely power everything, but we choose not to do it. We choose not to do it for the very reason, that in these movies say human beings don't deserve it, is because, we choose to limit ourselves to this arbitrary thing called money. The reason why we don't have, I was going to pull out a dollar bill. The reason why we don't have infinite power sources is because there's too much money in selling gasoline. There's too much power. It's just a lot easier to control everybody through gasoline. If we got rid of it, there would be trillions and trillions of dollars in huge corporations, and they wouldn't be having their control over you, control over economies, control over governments, and control over your pocketbook. So we're already living that. We're already living, number one, that we have the ability to create everything. And number two, we're living that unconscious, self-sabotaging, limited thought, which is human beings don't deserve this power. But the truth is they already have it. You have this power, and not only are you being conned by the powers that be that you don't have it, but you are really doing it to yourself. The truth is, the powers that be are the powers that be because we have put them there. And we have manifested them there. We have intended them there because they represent our limitations. Whatever politician you think is the most evil person in the world, that politician whom you think is doing it to you, that politician is nothing more than your own manifestation of your own self-directed limitation and negativity. That's why I don't bother with any of that. And even if I have opinions and strong feelings about it, I don't let it stop me. And it hasn't, as of yet, stopped me from absolutely having everything that I choose to have. And this is true for you as well. So, in order for all this to work, in order for you to be able to wave your hand and make anything happen, anything manifest, anything be true, in order for that to happen, you have to understand certain things. So you have to understand the components, which we're going to talk about today. You have to understand the limitations. You have to understand the rules. We're going to talk about that in other videos. But today we're just going to talk about the components. So let's go ahead and take a look at that again. Here's the list of the interface components between you and this three-dimensional video game. Let me go over again what I've said many times before. I'll shorten it as much as I can. This world is not a prison. This world is not an evil matrix. It is a matrix, but it's a matrix of your own construction. You constructed the matrix before you became human. So you are an infinite soul. You are an infinite, omniscient, omnipotent, all-knowing, all everything. You are beyond time and space. You are beyond all dimensions. Stop wasting your time with the 3D versus the 5D. It doesn't matter. You're beyond 3D, 5D, 10D. Your soul is beyond everything. So you've already got that. Your soul, when it's in its original state, is in a state of complete bliss and satisfaction. But the soul likes to have fun. And so the soul created this three-dimensional infinite universe. It's infinite in 3 dimensions as far as we know. But it is finite in terms of that there are other universes outside of it. You created this 3-dimensional universe that we're in. You created the earth that we live. And you, over millions of years, you have helped in the creation of the human body as it stands now. That's what's called evolution. You've lived many lifetimes, perhaps thousands of lifetimes before this one. And in each one of those lifetimes, you came down to have different experiences. From those different experiences, you learned about how to manifest in limitation. And so you've set up some rules for the game. Now, this isn't the rules for manifestation. This is just the rules of the game what I'm talking about, which is you have made it so that this has to be fun. If you've ever played video games, there's no such thing as a fun video game that's easy. You like video games that are difficult. You like video games where there is risk that you may die, you may lose your man, you may have to start all over again. This makes it fun. You get pissed off when your guy dies, you throw the controller down, whatever, but then you pick it right back up and you keep playing because it's addicting and it's fun. This is what human life is like for your soul. So you already have this ability, but you wanted to create a scenario where you actually had to relearn how to create everything, and you had to make it fun. So there has to be risks. That's why there's always a risk of dying. You know, that's a very real thing. The knowledge that death is a real thing keeps you alive in the moment. If you knew that you were omnipotent and infinite, and you wouldn't do anything. You wouldn't get anything done. All right, so you created the rule so that in order to achieve what it is you truly want, you gave yourself some limitations. Limitations of being in 3-dimensional space-time. And you further made it more fun by adding the challenge of something we call karma. So karma is nothing more than action versus reaction. It is the consequences of your actions. It's nothing more than that. I read somebody's comment the other day who said something ridiculous, which, you know, it's not his fault because there's a lot of ridiculous things out there. I believe it was a he. He said that he believed that you could burn off your karma but still not have enlightenment. And then he said something to the effect of meditation and yoga burns off the karma. And I, you know, as I do, because he was on my channel, I corrected him and I said, that's not how karma works, my friend. Karma means action. In order to be able to burn off the actions that have created the consequences that you're living out now, you must take different actions, which will create different karmas, which will balance out the, quote, negative karmas that you're experiencing. So in order to do that, you take actions which then change your awareness, which is the same as being enlightened. So enlightenment is nothing more than having the ability to know what actions to take. That's it. You thought enlightenment was more than that? You thought enlightenment was escaping this evil, cruel world so you can be happy? That's your natural state. When you're out of the body, that's your natural state. You think, oh, I want to do that now. You think that now until you get there, and then you go, ah, man, I was so close. I almost got to level such and such. Ah, all right, I got to go back. You choose to come back. You realize the how you feel now is not going to be how you're feeling when you are 100% in your soul again. Anyway, getting off topic here. So those are the limitations. The limitations are, of course, you got 3D space-time to deal with. You have this thing called karma, which is the consequences of your past actions, both in previous lifetimes and in this lifetime. By the way, if you thought that you came into this life with a bunch of bad luck, that bad luck was just the accumulation of the actions that you take. Sort of like you take a bunch of actions, there are some consequences to those actions, and then you take those consequences with you into the next life. And so that's why the beginning of your life, like mine, for instance, mine was very tough. You know, my childhood, I wouldn't wish on anybody. I'm not competing. There are people that had things far worse than me, but nevertheless, mine was no picnic. But that's because those are things I brought with me based on actions from previous lifetimes. So a lot of my actions in this lifetime have been to balance those out. That has given me a measure of enlightenment, and it has given me the ability to learn more and more on a daily basis that I really do have this infinite, godlike, omnipotent power to wave my hand and make anything happen. So there's another rule. So you've got the karma thing, right? So the karma thing is part of the rules that you've made in this in order to make this life fun, because without it, it would be boring. There's nothing more boring than a game that you can beat. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I've got Super Punch-Out from 1990, whatever it was. And I got it again recently, and I had to start all over. But because I'd done it before, I got it really quick, and then I beat the game. And now every time I play it, I just beat them. It's just easy as hell. It's boring. So in order to avoid boredom, you create this karma thing. The consequences of your actions, they build up. You have to work those off. And then the other thing is, which creates karma, by the way, which creates more karma, is the desire to be loved and appreciated by three-dimensional humans. It's part of our human survival mechanism. The physical human being cannot survive, especially if you go back further in time. Physical human being cannot survive if they are not accepted and loved by the tribe. Here's a good example: homelessness. People who are homeless, when you think about it, I mean, there was a point in time, if you go back, 500 years, 1,000 years, 2,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, everybody was homeless. Nobody owned anything. I mean, even before horses and the wheel and carts, which is, not that long ago, 7, 8, 9,000 years ago, the majority of people on the planet were walking around, and what they owned were things that they could carry with them. And the things that they carried with them were things like bows and arrows. That's it. Bows and arrows, maybe a spear, and maybe some, stones you could use to, flake the ends of the spear. I mean, you didn't own anything. If you stopped and you made a home out of twigs and branches, and if you were lucky, you had a skin to put around it. But if you didn't have that, you just put branches and mud on it. You just grabbed whatever it was and you made something. No different than insects. What are those things? Those things that eat through the house. Termites. Termites make these big mounds. Ants, bees make hives. I mean, every animal has the ability. Animals dig holes in the ground, and birds take twigs and feathers. I mean, we were no different. We just took what was around and we made it. So this idea that of having possessions is a really new concept. So I forgot where I was going with that. Anyway. So what I was saying is that in order to survive, you have to be part of the tribe. And if you're not part of the tribe, you won't survive. So what I was saying is that homeless people are actually much better off in terms of the possessions they have. Sometimes they have tents. They have carts. They can carry stuff in. The thing that makes being homeless bad is that you're not accepted in the tribe. You're an outsider. You don't have a bank account. You don't have a job. You don't have a social security card. You don't have all these things. I mean, my brother became homeless. I haven't spoke to him in a long time, but he was homeless, and I grew up with the guy, and he ended up in a place where he didn't have even an identification. He couldn't get anything. He was given some money. My mom passed away, and he got a few $1,000s inheritance, and he couldn't even get it because he couldn't go to the bank because he didn't have any identification, which meant he wasn't part of the tribe. And so as a result of that, he was outcast. He ended up getting his inheritance. What he did with it, I don't know. But the point is that we need to be accepted by the tribe in order to survive. And so we have these two things coming at us, which are one of the main things that keep us from being able to manifest our dreams, which is we have this karma, which is, karma says, hang on a second, you got to balance this out. You took some actions, you've been taking these same actions for quite a few lifetimes now, and they've built up in the experience of you've come into this life with some physical, emotional, sociological, thing that's holding you down. And you have to take certain actions to balance those out. When you balance that out, then we'll free you up from that. It'll give you more hard drive space and more RAM. You'll get an upgrade, and then you'll be able to manifest more things. And then the other thing is you're going to have to deal with the conflict inside of you of wanting to be loved and accepted by the tribe, and balance that with wanting to do what your soul wants to do. And so there will always be a dharmic challenge. So you have karmic challenges and dharmic challenges. Dharma means your true identity, your true destiny. In order to achieve your true destiny, you will have to make a choice between your true authentic self and what you want from other people, which includes what they want from you. It might be a life and death experience of having to choose your soul over making your parents happy, over making your government, your religion. There were times past when the dharmic challenge could be life-threatening. If you didn't, accept whatever monotheist religion, Islam or Christianity, you might be killed right on the spot. These are dharmic challenges, and those people had to decide what's more important, my soul or your religion. And that was a dharmic challenge. So you will have karmic challenges and dharmic challenges. And when you get those sorted out, which can be done, I promise you it is very easy. I should say it's very simple to do those things. It's not necessarily easy. It might be painful and challenging, but it is very simple to do those things. And this is what all of spiritual disciplines are. 90-day challenge. That's what all these spiritual disciplines are. Doing yoga, doing meditation, doing qigong, doing service, doing whatever it is. These are disciplines that you use in order to be able to learn what your true dharma is and to have the discipline and the power and the connection to pull it off. Okay? So now that I've laid that groundwork, now let's talk about the list. So these things have to be working together in their most optimum state in order for you to be that guy in that movie and simply wave your hand and make anything happen. So let's talk about that. So the first one is your soul. We already talked about that. Your soul is your authentic, true, eternal self that has come here, and it is the most important thing. It is easy to lose the soul. The idea of soul retrieval, although I may differ in the actual methodology of how to retrieve your soul and what that means, you can become separated from your soul. It's still within you. You just have all these other things that separate you. But that is the most important thing, and operating from your soul is the most important thing. The essence of your soul is joy. It doesn't mean that you won't have problems or maybe even be filled with a bunch of other things and maybe completely, totally incapable of feeling the joy of the soul. That's okay. It's still there. But that is always something, as we've said, when you know what your true soul desire is, you will, even if it's a flash, even if it's just a split second, you will be able to feel the joy of what it is you want to accomplish. Now, the other stuff, the other components may come in and cloud that for you, but there's always that slim, tiny little spark where you feel that joy, even if it's for just a split second. So that's your soul. That's the most important component, and that is what's driving the whole shebang. Number two is the mind. So the mind is the projector. Now, the mind is not your intellect. Most people in the West believe that their mind is their intellect, their brain. That is not your mind. Your brain is a computer. It's even less powerful than the intellect. The brain is a computer. It's just simply part of the hardware that your physical body needs in order to connect your soul to three-dimensional reality. Your mind is something else. Your mind is the ability to see things objectively. So this is what meditation, the basic meditation that most people know about, which, by the way, is even difficult for me, and I'm a meditation teacher, is to empty your mind. Well, that's impossible. Trying to empty your mind isn't really the goal. That's the result. Emptying your mind consists of watching the feelings. Oh, that's an interesting feeling. Where did that come from? Ooh, there's another interesting feeling. Ooh, there's an impulse. I really want to go and get on my computer and check my email. That's a really interesting impulse. And you watch it. You watch the thoughts that come through your mind. So-and-so is stupid. Such and such is evil. The Matrix is destroying the world. You go, oh, that's an interesting thought. You use the mind to be able to observe not only yourself but other people. The mind is also closely connected to your emotions. So if you notice here, I don't have the emotional body or anything like that because you have the mind. The mind is associated with your emotions. Emotions are reactions to stimuli. Emotions are reactions to thoughts, and thoughts are also responses to emotions. So this is why people get thoughts mixed up with their mind. But the truth is that thoughts really aren't you. So people say you are your thoughts. No, you're not your thoughts. Your thoughts. Now, what about if you have negative thoughts? You have bad thoughts. Is that you? No, it's just a thought. It's a reaction. It's part of your physical, human, karmic reaction to things. And so are emotions. If something you perceive as being good happens to you, you will have a positive emotion. If something you perceive as happening bad to you, you'll have a negative emotion. Thoughts, if you use your imagination to think about something bad happening to you, that may create bad thoughts and bad emotions as well. So you are not your thoughts and your emotions, but they are part of you, and these are some things about your mind. But your mind is your projector. So at some point, when you have all the components working together, through your third eye, you can project exactly what it is that you want to manifest. And that's the equivalent of the guy in the movie who waves his hand whenever he says something. All right, so that's another component of your omnipotence. The third one is your personality software, your lower self. So you think your name is so-and-so, I live at such and such, I was born such and such a day, I'm this race, I'm that religion, this happened to me, I feel this way, I believe that, I'm a good person, or maybe you don't think you're so good, whatever thoughts you have about yourself, this is your lower self, your personality software. As I've said many times before, ghosts are not the souls of dead people. When you die, your soul only stays on this three-dimensional realm for, I think it's something like 40 days. After 40 days, because for 40 days your soul sits around, tries to communicate. So if you've noticed this, I mean, I've had an experience with this where somebody that was close to me passed away, and that day all kinds of weird things happened in the house. Things flew across the room, and somebody was trying to get my attention. Because when the soul first jumps out of the body, it wants to then go, oh my God, I'm not dead, I'm still here. And then it rushes over to people in its life and screams at you, I'm not dead, it's okay, don't cry, I'm still alive, here. Oh, but you can't touch them, they can't hear you, so you try moving things around, or you do some weird kind of signal. Maybe, this has happened too, where people say, listen, when you go, send me this sign. I saw one video, it was really quite touching, where somebody's grandmother, I believe, passed away, and somebody said to her, when you died, let us know you're okay by sending a cardinal bird. Send a cardinal to us. And sure enough, I don't know when it was, they're filming it, somebody on their phone, this cardinal, tries to fly in the house or something like that, and then would fly on this person's shoulder. A wild cardinal flew on the person's shoulder. They tried to, make it fly away, and it flew back, and till the person said, okay, I get it. Grandma, it's you. And then the bird flew up in the tree, stayed there for a while, and then left and never came back. So the soul stays here for 40 days trying to let go and trying to let everybody else know it's okay, I'm still alive. But they separate from who they thought they were in this limited lifetime, and then they become more and more identified as the immortal soul that they are, and then they're not here anymore. So ghosts haunting houses, that's not the soul, that is the lower self. Your lower self is where all of your psychological baggage is. Your personality disorders, your psychoses, your neuroses, your alcoholism, your drug addiction, your fear of that, your unresolved this and that, and whatever, all that stuff is in your lower self. It's part of the avatar that you create. Like when you go online and you have an online game, you have to create an avatar. You create an avatar, and your avatar is made up of your past karmas and your present life lessons and this, all that stuff. It creates this avatar, but it's not eternal. It is very real, but that's where a lot of your emotions are coming from your avatar. They're not coming from your soul. And your emotions are there to let you know all kinds of things. So, all of this stuff is important. So that is, what we say there? That's number 3, the personality software. So you have to get that cleared up. You have to go, do whatever it is you need to do. This is what morality is about, really. Living a moral life is about cleaning up the personality software. It's not about getting God's love or anything like that, or getting approval. It's really about learning how to function in the world in a way that allows you to benefit and benefits others. You're a cooperative, helpful part of the whole system. So your personality, we put crazy people into loony bins, not just because they see reality differently, but because they make things difficult for everybody else. And they're perhaps a danger to other people or to themselves. This is assuming that somebody's been put away for the right reasons. Some people get put away because they're actually helping the world to evolve, and so they become too dangerous. And sometimes those people get put away. And anyway, we could go on about that. So that's your personality software. This is what I call the narrative. You've got to first know what your narrative is, which is in your unconscious mind. So you have to know what is there programmed in your unconscious mind. From the moment you were born, you were being programmed. You chose to take actions and make assumptions and have beliefs based on that programming. So you are responsible for how you chose to respond, but nevertheless, you were responding to a program that was being programmed into you. And this is all part of the personality software, your narrative. You can change your narrative. I'm constantly changing my narrative. And so when you understand that this lower self is necessary, then you learn how to program it yourself. And then that probably most powerful of all the things within you, which is your personality software, your lower self, will then continue to create the world. Wave your hand. It's a huge part of that. It's like the muscle of the manifester is your unconscious mind. All right. Then we have number 4, which is the upgrade sensor, which is called your higher self. So you get these messages on your phone. Lots of times I'll get messages on my phone. I mean, look, my phone is old. I don't know how old my phone is. I haven't gotten a new phone, but it still functions. And so I get, it's an Apple phone, so I get Apple messages saying, you're ready for an upgrade, check to see if there are any upgrades. And so you have to say, yes, go ahead, upgrade it in the middle of the night or whatever it is. Or sometimes you have to manually upgrade it. So this is your higher self. Your higher self acts like an advisor. And as you progress through life, the IT specialists of the soul are the ascended masters, the bodhisattvas, the elves. These are beings that used to be human, and they have achieved complete enlightenment, and they are on the verge of merging back into infinity. Before they do that, they turn around, they look back at human beings, and they stand guard, and they help human beings to evolve. So they are always there and ready. And when you ask them, just like when you call customer service, hey, I'm having an issue with my phone, and can you help me download this? Oh, I log on to that, and I press this. And the elves want to help you upgrade. They want to help you upgrade your awareness to the higher level of your functioning. And so this is the higher self. And the higher self and the lower self work together very well. And if they're not communicating, then you're going to have a dysfunctional, you're not going to be able to wave your hand and make everything happen the way you want. So you have to have these two things, the higher self and the lower self, in communication, so that the software, the personality software, can continuously be upgraded. Okay? So that's your upgrade sensor, which is your higher self. And then the 5th one is the 3D interface software. So the personality software, the hardware, sorry, I'm getting confused here. So I'm calling this 3D interface software the intellect, and I'm trying to make a distinction between software and hardware. So the hardware is your brain, your nervous system, your meridians, your kundalini, the chakras, the kundalini meridians. Even though those aren't physically tangible, they're still part of the hardware. These are all things that when you die, your kundalini will die, your nervous system will die, the meridian system will die, your lower self will go off, and it will ideally become an earth spirit and eventually make its way up to becoming a soul. All of these things will come apart and go into a bunch of different directions when you pass away. But there is a piece of software which is called the intellect. So the intellect helps you to determine the rules of three-dimensional existence. Very simple things like, touch a hot stove, you'll burn yourself. Arbitrary rules like here in Australia, you have to drive on the left side of the road. In the United States, you have to drive on the right side of the road. If your intellect isn't telling you the rules of either how this imagined system, like rules of the road, those are totally imagined. They're not. If people didn't understand them, the people would be crashing into each other. So it's an arbitrary set of rules that everybody has to follow in order for things to work. The intellect helps you understand actual physical laws like the law of gravity. You understand pretty quickly. Once you fall off something, you figure out pretty quickly that There is this thing called gravity that pulls you to the ground, and it doesn't feel good when you step off a high building or something. You know what's going to happen. So your intellect gives you these things and tells you, when somebody does this, it means that they're angry. If they do this, that they're happy. The intellect is just simply the thing that allows you to interface and figure out what the rules are. It doesn't really do a heck of a lot much else. But the intellect is important. When you have the intellect and the mind, for instance, working together, then you have not only a smart person, but a wise person. You're able to take knowledge, wisdom, which goes beyond words, and you're able to apply it in three-dimensional physical reality. So there's an example of the mind and the intellect, two of these components working together, and that's what you need. You need all of these things working together: the soul, the mind, the lower self, the narrative, the personality software, the upgrade sensor or the higher self, and then the 3D interface software of the intellect. All of these things must be working correctly, and they must be cooperating with each other. This is just the basic. We're going to get into other stuff about how to then tap into other things that will allow you to be able to wave your hand or snap your fingers or whatever it is, like twitch your nose or blink your eyes, old references to Bewitched and I Dream of Jeannie, to be able to manifest. So we'll stop it right there. Those are the components. As I said, we're going to get into other things like what are the rules, which are you created some rules about how this thing works, how it works, how things manifest, how you can control and decide when and how and to what degree things manifest. We'll also talk about the limitations. These are limitations that show you exactly what you can and cannot do. You'll learn what the obstacles are. So there are obstacles that you'll be doing everything right, but there will be an obstacle that will be preventing you from being successful in waving your hand and making absolutely anything happen. So we'll talk about those in previous videos. If you want to hear about those videos, because that's where the rubber meets the road, then go to thunderwizard.com and click around until you see the Manifestation Mastery Course link. You subscribe to the Manifestation Mastery Course link, and then you'll have access to the members-only videos. Now, I recommend that you go one step further and you subscribe to the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong. So if you are a subscriber at the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong level, you have access to all of the videos, including all of the Manifestation Mastery Course videos. But if you just want to learn the Manifestation Mastery Course, then you can subscribe to that. So go to thunderwizard.com, click around until you see Manifestation Mastery Course and hit subscribe. It's a monthly subscription. If you don't like it, you can unsubscribe next month, or you won't ever have to deal with it again. I recommend doing the 90-day, the same thing there. If you don't like that, you can unsubscribe, or you can go to the level below, or you can upgrade to the level above. You have all kinds of options. But anyway, go and check it out at thunderwizard.com. That's it for me. I look forward to the next one. And next one, we will talk about the rules that you set in place to guide you in your manifestations. All right? I'll see you soon. Take care.